My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C., and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. All right, this is P.O.C. This is where the entity has been maintaining psychopathic pacing behavior, plane after plane repeatedly hovering over what is Mule Car Smokehouse. You see how close they are? They're flying right over the building. And this is where the people of the state CERES Regis group is being prosecuted, just like I documented earlier on video. The sex offenders that are stalking, tracking my steps in order to engage in what is sexual assault and battery and unlawful touching while they're criminally stalking. And the touching is with what is engineered light. It's not even natural light. It's not the product of their headlights that creates the engineered effect while they are monitoring, stalking on behalf of this government that's flying over the apartment building when I'm being gang stalked at this location. While I'm over here, as I've already documented, CERES Regis group is engaging in sexual assault and battery while the people of the state are pacing all around this location. This would be C Street, C as in Charlie, and this is Lemon, and this is B Street, and this is Euclid, and I'm subject to sexual assault and battery, where the entity, the public entity, which the FAA is aware of every plane that is taking off. So I'm documenting criminal activity that the U.S. government is fully apprised of, and this is how it is the U.S. government's criminal pattern of conduct that is underway in Ontario. And there are no planes that are scheduled, not only at 2:18 in the morning, but no flights coming from the Ontario International Airport, as I've stated, and these are judicially noticed facts that are hovering way over here at B Street in Euclid, over 200 North Euclid Avenue at 2:18 in the morning. No takeoff from the airport, in other words, is in the sky space, let alone hovering. And to be hovering is meaning you have yet to engage in a takeoff. Okay, this is the entity that is targeting under all circumstances at the Ontario Town Square where the fake sun is documented from sunrise until sunset. This is the entity that is targeting, which is proven through the environment and the demon possessed who are up. This is speaking to psychopathic, the necessity of martial law, the psychopathic ongoing obsessive conduct of a population that's not sleeping, they're up stalking. Okay, know exactly where I'm at, monitoring what I'm doing on my phone, and they're doing so while they are physically stalking, and the entity is engaged in an unlawful search, ongoing surveillance, federal stalking, P.O.C. Doing so repeatedly. So I'm capturing video about what the entity is continuously doing over and over and over again at 2 o'clock in the morning. Metro 102 GL Partners, MIG Real Estate, the John Stewart Company, CERES Regis Group. These are apartment buildings. They're all gang stalking. And this is the prosecution of the corporation, including Mule Car Smokehouse. This is P.O.C. It's 2:20 a.m. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. This is ongoing confirmation regarding the people of the state. I've already prosecuted and successfully shut down a stalker, which is an airport, which is relevant to the criminal activity of the FAA. All right, the ongoing dereliction of duty, if you will, but it's more than dereliction of duty. The FAA is engaged in the surveillance that the Ontario International Airport is facilitating and engaging with the airlines that are stalking. I'm capturing hours of ongoing surveillance. What you know is the fake sun. This is the entity that has engineered light stretching underneath this entirely covered structure. It's impossible light activity while they're stalking. No flights from the airport, no passengers on these planes, U-turns and hovering over the apartment complex where the fake sun is both present here and present in the morning, where this airport is also still documented engaging in what is targeting. Alrighty, this is the P.O.C. And remember, the fake sun is distinct from the placement of light underneath covered structures where surveillance is underway by the people of the state. Okay, inside of the buildings where they're gang stalking, walking to the venues, that's City of Ontario employees, she's gang stalking. This is the Securitas that is the entity that's engaged in this, and this is what they're doing as I'm documenting. This is where Ontario police are stalking, driving right through here last night, stalking. This is the venue under the fake sun, doing so under the fake moon last night. The Ontario police are not just being disbanded, they are mentally ill, they are demons, and so are the ones that are being discharged from the military that are engaging in stalking. And furtherance of monitoring includes Securitas. This is light activity, not being on your job, working your shift in the specific environment, distinct from criminal activity that's underway. This is monitoring with the people of the state, as you can see. All right. Now, the demons that are pushing strollers in Upland, you're seeing the same pattern of conduct with the demons in Ontario with their communication devices. And this is a psychopath that gets in the path by going to the trash can. Communication devices in hand, fake sun, right over. All right, right in relevant position, and it stays here. And this is that P.O.C. These are the demons that are vagina monitoring at the Upland Public Library as well while that pattern of conduct is underway. This is impunity, and that's why they are not getting any government assistance. That's why they're losing custody of children. That's why they're going to prison and being committed as well. This is the military. This is third-party status, not private citizens. All right, this is P.O.C, this is the Ontario Civic Center, and this is the criminal activity removing what is called manner of facilitation. They are targeting with the entity maintaining surveillance. The City of Ontario is fully engaged in monitoring. University of Laverne, Ontario City Hall. You'll recall my video documented the other day. The fake sun is still over me at the Ontario City Hall, where the, as I referred to her, malnutrition, the malnutrition lesbian that I suspect engaging in prostitution. But nonetheless, she's engaged in monitoring. And in the evening, the fake sun is over me, merely on the opposite side of this same building. All right, and you're seeing the fake sun moving over me while the gang stalking stroller pusher, the gang stalking security guard, the gang stalking pilots, who are the military engaging in the P.O.C. This is the entity maintaining light activity because they're monitoring. This is impossible light activity, especially while it's over me in Upland, California. You cannot even see the sun, and sunlight's not going to ricochet, and it's also not going to be in Upland while it's reflecting off of the same senior center that it's remaining in the middle of the afternoon into the evening. This is the gang stalking that the Paul Leon, the Ontario City Council, is engaging in. This is the P.O.C. Okay, and I'm present here capturing this well into the evening. This is that pattern of conduct. It is currently 8:02 a.m. This is what I've been documenting. You'll see it in images, and this is speaking to exposing and prosecuting the FAA, who was equally engaged in violating my rights, my human rights, and also profiting from it. All right, engaging in what is more and beyond, extending beyond dereliction of duty. The entities engaged in a pattern of conduct throughout the U.S., and I'm exposing and prosecuting it here. All right, this is that P.O.C. It is currently 8:03 a.m. P.O.C. This is P.O.C. I'm going to show you the entity that is stalking. This is Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines is flying over the City Hall. This is light activity by the City of Ontario and Securitas. This is the fake sun that's moving to the City Hall back over me, remaining here, and also setting here. Southwest Airlines is flying over John Stewart companies, and Southwest Airlines is doing so while the entity is monitoring the evidence. This is relevant. This is beyond a conviction. This is relevant to evidence regarding the people of the state that do not have a defense while they're engaging in criminal facilitation and are failing at having any legally relevant defense in court, where they are doing things such as stalking with impossible light activity. It's currently 8:05 a.m. The entity is maintaining what is stalking me by Southwest Airline planes while I'm at the reliable properties. Remember, Southwest Airlines is stalking me while I'm on Euclid Avenue. North of this location, Southwest Airlines is stalking while I'm in Upland, California. And Southwest Airlines is associated with Terminal 4. And Southwest Airlines does not have any flights that are scheduled right now. This is all relevant evidence regarding targeting that the people of the state, regardless of what they claim their knowledge is or what their involvement is criminal presence in the path. They're also going to state that they didn't place the fake sun in the sky, which is true. They're being federally prosecuted regarding state surveillance with the U.S. government. The people of the state that you see that impunity, that demon pushing the stroller, is intentionally stalking in the path, not coincidentally, but pursuant to a pattern. That's why the whole supernatural crime scene is in Upland, California, where they are gang stalking using strollers and babies and getting in my path, where this fake sun remains in Upland all day long, including right now, where I'm capturing video at 7:19 in the morning, and I'm referring to you the kidnappers that are engaged in criminal summoning with the people of the state, making false allegations while still thinking that same gang, a group, is going to assert that they're not quote-unquote gang stalking while they're interfering with your freedom of speech, while they're interfering with an investigation where they don't have any basis to say anything about what's being documented, especially while they're engaged in surveillance on the device of the evidence. This is just speaking to the disparity, the ongoing duration of time regarding the fake sun, and also the wealth of evidence of everywhere that, for example, Southwest Airlines is stalking. And it is well beyond OVITT Family Community Library, and it is also outside of what is published. And the entity engages in more of that criminal activity monitoring, which is incorporating the City Hall. Remember my documentation, the fake sun is over the City Hall at 12:51 in the afternoon. I documented that after the entity engaged in what is kidnapping. I documented that with regard to juxtaposing it to the fake sun being directly over me at the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, the demons that are maintaining a jailing detention center where they're engaged in criminal monitoring, where the military is stalking by maintaining commercial planes over that venue, which has the fake sun. All of that pattern of conduct where the people of the state do not have what is an argument, and that's what you're going to anticipate with regard to public corruption. While you are gang stalking, pacing in the path, while while you are a creature engaging in that under the fake sun, in concert with the government that is clearly speaking to your criminal engagement, where there is a legally irrelevant claim that while you are engaging in it merely by being present, regardless of any sort of knowledge that you will admit or deny, you are engaged in monitoring and you are going to be federally prosecuted for it. This is the entity that's engaging in that, but I just want to be clear. The malice is in the form of the facilitating behavior in concert with the criminal summoning conduct, the ongoing malicious assertions, the ongoing stalking with impossible light activity, the fake moon and the fake sun environment where the entity is stating, I don't know anything about gang stalking, which is what Securitas is stating. All right, that's relevant audible activity. And it's also a threat. Remember, I represent the ordinary target individual. Never mind the fact that I know how to deal with that. You're going to be prosecuted when you are the government conspiring murder. You're lying about my character. You're defaming me in court. You're perjuring yourself in court, and then that same group is stating that they don't know anything about gang stalking. They are being prosecuted not only by the criminal acts that are collateral to this, but the system whereby the entity is defaming your character in the courts, that same government that's stalking in planes and helicopters where no one is ignorant, and you are being prosecuted as a population. This is Southwest Airlines gang stalking, which all of the airlines are sharing it, and that is captured in substantial images. Page One Cafe is gang stalking. Securitas is gang stalking, the entities surrounding with light activity, and the Ontario City Hall, as the evidence shows. This is where the fake sun is present. It's 8:08 a.m. And as you know, I'm inside of Page One Cafe at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This is on the record, where the sun would not be present, and you do not have an argument, and you're not actually ignorant, nor are you under the law ignorant when you have the entity stalking in this manner, because that's what that is at the C Street turn circle. As I am moving, these are demons surrounding, while you are both gang stalking and seeking to contend with the target individual or contend with the evidence. That's the same evidence that's relevant for mental illness. Understand how this evidence is used, because everything that they say and do, everything, including trying to deny involvement, is relevant regarding mental illness. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:09 a.m. at the Ontario Civic Center, where the entity's been maintaining the ongoing criminal pattern of conduct as I have been documenting it. And this is the entity that's maintaining this environment and stalking with plane after plane after plane after plane, after plane, after plane. And this is where the entity is. The fake sun is rising, okay? It's 8 o'clock and it's still on this side of the building. This is, just so that you see, this is what I'm uploading on the internet. But this is where the fake sun is still present. It has not moved. And then you're mindful of what the entity is doing when I'm walking to Upland, when I'm already in Upland. I'm sitting at the Veterans Monument and the entity is flying, stalking me with military planes over my head. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 8:10 a.m. This is the entity stalking with a jet. This is P.O.C. And the entity is engaging in harassment. So while I'm wearing my Bluetooth headphones, this is just an example of the entity harassing one that they're keeping under surveillance, and I just happen to be aware of it. As the entity is stalking by planes, as the people of the state are stalking on foot, the entity is interfering with my Bluetooth signal that's attached to my cell phone. The entity is engaged in monitoring. They're doing so while I am on YouTube editing playlists with regard to defendants who are being federally prosecuted, corporate entities, the facilitating venues, for example, the entire Ontario Civic Center. The entity has a fake sun. I documented this morning during the 6 a.m., 7 a.m. hour. It's 10:07. It's right over the top of my head. It has not traveled anywhere upon Euclid Avenue, gone north up Euclid Avenue. Southwest Airlines isn't maintaining any flights from Terminal 4 anywhere at over 1444 North Euclid Avenue. This is United States Postal Service gang stalking with the entity. You just heard that plane activity. That's actually a jet. And that's the audible component to monitoring. The jet present in the sky space is the physical component, that is stalking. Stalking is identified in the specific environment which defies nature. And that's why there's an outright deprivation. There's an outright departure from the sun being over the Upland Public Library. That's how you are aware of who it is, and that's the government that's maintaining a jet. That's the government that's present through the people who are also demons. And the sound of that jet is amplified in volume. It's not the actual natural volume. It's louder than normal, and it's also relevant to the proof of that is the fake sun. That's demonic activity while the military is stalking me in jets. It's demonic activity while the entity is keeping this fake sun, and engineered light is appearing underneath that structure like what I documented this morning, and it's remaining over me, which is the evidence, contrary to what a gang stalking security guard would contend, that she is targeting, that corporation is targeting, that the city of Ontario, the state is targeting, because the supernatural environment tells on them. Okay, this is the P.O.C. and everything that the entity does going inside a page 1 cafe, which is Exhibit A. Gang stalking, making a purchase, that's the RICO case, which is relevant to what is treason. The government that's engaging in surveillance and furtherance of murder with the city of Ontario that's already exposed as a gang stalker. Okay, this is light activity when you're under a fake sun that's sitting at the same location for 4 hours. All right, while you're working at that location, which is page 1 cafe, while you're engaging in what is the maintenance of plane activity where no planes from the airport are ever going to be in the sky space in the first place, where you are living in relevant position, working, remaining, occupying, holding office in relevant position. This is the P.O.C. That is indeed the military using military jets, and that's the same pattern what's underway in Upland, and it's the same pattern of conduct while a fake sun is remaining over me at the Upland Veterans Monument at the Upland City Hall and the Upland Public Library, but it is very distinct with regard to the natural environment, and that therein is the evidence that the state is targeting. This is P.O.C. and that this is the Nephilim that is gang stalking. This is the pattern of conduct. It is currently 10 a.m. The employees inside of the OVITT Family Community Library are gang stalking, and this is the case when I'm in Upland showing you the same P.O.C. They are going to prison. They are gang stalking right now as well. That's also why they are going to federal prison, and it includes Sean Thrasher. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10 a.m. All right, in conformity to the pattern of conduct, where the employees of the OVITT Family Community Library are going to federal prison. And they're deciding that they are going to federal prison. They're not just going to prison, they're going to be committed. While the entity is, I document you, and I am also simultaneously embarrassing you while you are the Nephilim that are vagina monitors. The entity is engaging in what is conspicuous surveillance by helicopter, which is where the entity is stalking by jets, where the Ontario International Airport is engaging in surveillance, which the FAA is engaged in by virtue of it ongoing, occurring over, including the government's office, the Ontario City Hall, where I'm being terrorized by helicopter. And the mayor's office, just like yesterday, the mayor and the mayor's office in Upland, California are under the fake sun, which is occurring at the same time, which is impossible. The entity that's engaging in what is the pattern to tend to engage in psychological torture while you are convicted by virtue of an American citizen documenting, that's why they're getting committed. This very evidence is what a medical professional shall utilize in order to answer the questions that you have with regard to involuntarily committing those that are engaging in what is this unabated program of psychological torture, which is included by those that are in the military and law, who are the people that say this is surveillance, and it's a prosecution of John Stewart Company. This is how you're maintaining criminal presence. This is the prosecution of John Stewart Company. This is how you're maintaining criminal surveillance and fake sun. And like I stated, and what the entity confirms, it's mental illness. Sean Thrasher is a psychopath who engaged in accusing me, look at the fake son, of being one that engaged in molestation of a child. Looking at what is stalking me by the government that maintains court hearings, entered fictitious and malicious assertions while they were stalking, and vagina monitoring. And then they make those sexually perverted, very specific type of allegations. Not that I beat somebody up, not that I stole their purse, but that I'm molesting a child. Very specific allegations when you are stalking with the government, and when that government's engaged in what is seeking to defame my character, and also engaged in what is necessarily trying to depict me as the ones who are having sex with children, which are the people of the state. Those love Sean Thrasher, the demon that's gang stalking in helicopter, the demons that are stalking me in jets and planes, the people of the state that are a part of this sex cult that have sex with children and accusing me of that which they're guilty of. And why are they doing that? Because I'm documenting them engaged in vagina monitoring, and I'm in conformity to the law. I am not engaging in any sexual violence while I document them violating me in a sexual manner. And the evidence that I'm capturing here is evidence that you are indeed engaged in vagina monitoring, including the entity stalking by helicopter. And it is moreover confirmation that Sean Thrasher is not just a criminal, not just maliciously engaged in targeting as the director at the venue, which is associated with the city. This is, in other words, another employee of the municipality who has engaged in multiple acts of criminal summoning with that entity that's stalking me by helicopter, meaning he's an agent of the government seeking to kidnap and defame my character in furtherance of murdering me under a fake sun. That's not in Upland, California, over the Upland City Hall, where the Upland City employees are gang stalking me, like I'm documenting yesterday morning. And this is where the entity is exhibiting severe mental instability. Sean Thrasher is not just relevant. It's not just relevant for prison. These are the demons that are going to be committed, and it includes those that are stalking, physically flying in the planes and the helicopters, those that are stalking in the nearby cafe, those that are gang stalking and inside of the city hall, those that are gang stalking and they're inside of the the OVITT Family Community Library under a fake sun in the asinine and absurd environment. The sun is remaining in Upland, so how is it over what is the south side of the OVITT Family Community Library, which is exclusive. It couldn't be in Upland while I'm looking at it here. We can't see anything beyond this side of the library, but it's over me yesterday at the same time. This is the entity that's engaging in surveillance, and I'm prosecuting all of the people, all the corporations. This is your notice. You have already lost in a case, and I'm going to prosecute you not just as gang stalkers, but you're conspiring my murder as a corporation. Monitoring what that government is in furtherance of murder, okay? It's beyond RICO, and it is treason, and I'm prosecuting you. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 10:15 a.m. and the mentally ill entity engages in stalking in helicopter, which I am again documenting, while it is simultaneously incriminating those that are going to prison for lying on my character, for gang stalking, for excluding me from the venue, because you're being documented as a sex offender, which you are. That's why the entity is engaging in surveillance by helicopter, as I am literally, through videos that are uploaded onto social media, accomplishing a conviction literally every time in basically 3 minutes. The entity is engaging in this while they are unhinged with hostility and nonetheless still stalking. You're going to prison for this, Sean Thrasher. This is the entity that's engaged in that, and so are the demons in the military. Okay? This is mental illness. The psychopaths are silent, but the psychopaths are obsessed, and they are determined. Okay? This is an entity that's engaged in that, and it's getting committed. While it calls itself a director at the OVITT Family Community Library, it's getting committed. This is the P.O.C. The entity's engaged in stalking a helicopter. You're not innocently engaged in anything. This is obsession as you're looking at it, as it is also exhibited in the environment. And the entity is doing this on an ongoing basis. The employees at the OVITT Family Community Library are absolutely going to prison as violent sex offenders. That's the psychopath that was at Stewart Company Apartments, engaged in surveillance. A demon that's having a psychotic break, engaging in pacing at the C Street turn circle after I pointed him out, stalking me. And now he's engaging what is monitoring still. These are the demons that are going to be committed. And this is what is martial law by necessity, because of the levying of war that this entity that has and is still engaging in after they're already convicted. They are already convicted. They're already guilty. They're already found liable. That includes you, corporations, who are the entity. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 10:17 a.m. under the fake sun that's still here, which you know, which is setting here. That's how you know Eddie, that the malnutrition witch, the lesbian, the demons that are gang stalking at the homeless population that are monitoring, while I'm showing you a fake sign that's not over the Upland Public Library at the same time. What, pray tell, are they walking in while they're all sitting around chit-chatting, acting like nothing is happening? This is how and what is the material for commitments. The mentally ill that are gang stalking, showing themselves to be incompetent and having no business having any role in what are hearings pursuant to the well-being, the competence of another American citizen, moreover whom they are targeting together. And a failed means of trying to gang stalk someone, or using gang violence, in other words, while you're stalking in a helicopter, you're the one that's going to be committed. You're going in the straitjacket. And this is speaking to the military. You're going in the straitjacket. This is P.O.C. Amazon Prime, and this is demonic activity, a basis to remove Amazon Prime from existence. That's Primaire. In concert with the City of Ontario maintaining surveillance here. Let me show you this. This is the fake. This is the entity engaged in surveillance. That's the City of Ontario stalking. They're pacing all together all around me. They're monitoring. There are a bunch of stalkers. Who are these stalking? Coming out of the City Hall, just pacing around. The employees, like I'm showing you in Upland, in furtherance of murder. The City Halls are being defunded because they're engaged in targeting. They're engaged in criminal activity, and they're paid to do so. This is absurd. It's relevant to public corruption, and this is the same entity that's stalking by helicopter. Amazon Prime is a part of that. Look at the psychopathic pacing. This is P.O.C. The sun doesn't move over them. It's not in Upland, California at the same time. And this is the entity showing the public how much of a threat that they are to national security, and they will be subject to martial law. And that's how you are serving to involuntarily commit a population of the mentally ill. This is the P.O.C. The helicopter activity is the means whereby you are serving to commit involuntarily a population via martial law. Amazon Prime is engaged in terrorism stalking with the American people, with the people of the state. They're not American people. These are the people of the state, legally referring to them. And they're engaged, Amazon Prime is engaged in targeting with the entity stalking by helicopter. Psychological torture, Amazon Prime is going to be prosecuted for its criminal activity. And its employees are subject to prison just like every other third party. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10:21 a.m. Just want you to show you that direct connection, that direct nexus with regard to the hallmark of stalking by helicopter, which is pursuant to federal stalking, the conspiracy to commit murder, the program is psychological torture, the ongoing criminal intent to obstruct justice while you are physically stalking in planes, which is psychotic, and this is the brand itself, which Bezos is liable for, and he is not ignorant about, nor are you reasonably ignorant about it. This is the entity engaged in that, and I'm going to prosecute the airline industry while Amazon Prime demonstrates that. This is P.O.C. under the fake sun at 10:21 a.m. P.O.C. Page 1 Cafe employees are gang stalking while the entity is flying over the top of my head right now. I'm going to go ahead and take a picture of that for you. This is P.O.C. That's Robert. Robert's license plate is already on the record. That's just my effort of the evidence, but the entity is going to produce all of its identity. You're talking about everybody in the building that's subject to prison, the personnel inside of OVITT Family Community Library, the one that's engaged in criminal summoning, the one that's engaged in what is criminal activity, and this is what the mentally ill who are being committed, who are going to prison, this is what they call in their minds retaliation. There's no such thing when you are going to prison, but this is how you are going to subject a population to martial law. All right, this is the entity that calls itself blowing up buildings and shooting as many people, a retaliatory act while they are caught engaging in criminal activity. And this is the entity that's going to be locked down with martial law. This is why you are being deported out of the state, the entire immigrant population. This is why. And you have the corporations that are a threat to the public while they are gang stalking in the same manner. And how does that look while the entity is stalking by helicopter? Oh, the line to buy all the hamburgers and the cheeseburgers, it starts flowing out the door. The drive-through of Starbucks, it's down flowing into the street while the entity is stalking in the path, monitoring the one whom they are hostile to because the target individual has prosecuted them. The law school is not keeping any accredited status. The city hall is being defunded. The senior citizen center, the senior center is being defunded. John Stewart Company is being prosecuted. John Stewart's company is being prosecuted for impunity as well. So that's speaking to enhancement to damages. Your employees, your residents subject to prison. The company itself is a criminal. And that's speaking to what is the ability for that company to cease to exist altogether. The entity is engaged in what is participating in HUD housing programs while you are in violation of the Violence Against Women Act, which shall recognize that federal group stalking and monitoring criminal activity, surveillance, conspiracy to murder, target, levy war against American citizens is underway by property management companies, maintaining a psychopathic pattern of conduct. That's the P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaged in psychopathic pacing over John Stewart Company, and this is speaking to what the demons were doing inside of the Upland Public Library yesterday while they were pacing amongst impossible light activity and the fake sun that was over that Upland Public Library as I'm documenting at 10 o'clock, and they're walking in and out of the bathroom. They're engaged in stalking, and they're engaged in stalking by going and maintaining surveillance in a bathroom, which they also do in the converse pursuant to what is the targeted individual's genitalia. Okay, that's the P.O.C. Those are the stalkers you see stalking in the white pickup truck. I'm going to document their license plates, their prospects for immigration as well, and they're stalking its activity creation under the fake sun with the entity stalking by helicopter. This is P.O.C. and this is Paul Leon's prosecution. The fake sun is over me while the entity is flying over the Ontario City Hall right now, while the demon is stalking with a leaf blower, monitoring me. Paul Leon is monitoring me, and Paul Leon's appetite for conspiracy to murder people and stalk and terrorize them and psychologically torture them and harass them because they're prosecuting him. This is exactly why he's going to prison. He was compensated to engage in what is defaming my character and further into murdering me, and he's still doing so now while I have proven that, and I'm also proving his malicious intent toward me in the first place when I have published the evidence on social media which directly accuses and shows the allegations accurate against Paul Leon, and it's the office. Remember, these demons call themselves being symbolic. You're flying over the city hall while the fake sun is over me, and I'm referring to this office that's being shut down. Paul Leon is gang stalking me and communicating a threat. By the way, the feds are understanding that threat. You're going to prison. Just so that you know, you and your co-conspirators of the Ontario Police, those unintelligent gang members, are going to prison as well. The elderly are going to federal prison behind Paul Leon. They're going to be homeless behind Paul Leon, and he is not going to be in office anywhere. I just want to be clear, it shall be a policy in the U.S. that when you are removed from office for terrorism, you cannot go and run for office like any other alcoholic or former drug addict could. You are done with participating in politics. You're not representing any American people in any way. And this is the Paul Leon's ongoing future, okay? And this is after he gets out of prison. The entity's talking about flying over the employees of OVITT Family Community Library, flying over the library. They're going to prison. So that's Myra, that's Mickey, that's under the fake sun after 5 p.m. and she's inside walking on the engineer light. That walking on the engineer light conduct is going to result in involuntary commitments. It's evidence, it's tangible evidence of mental instability, of what is malice, psychopathic, fantasies regarding wanting to harm someone else while Mickey's defaming my character, stating that I'm molesting children in the bathroom where she's keeping my vagina under surveillance, with the military that are stalking me by helicopter at the place of employment where she's engaged in monitoring, stalking me in the building of the OVITT Family Community Library from every day that I'm in that library for the totality of the business hours, okay? This is P.O.C. While you hear the leaf floor, I'm gonna get a picture of this, because this is how you're prosecuting. So instead of running away and engaging in what is psychopathic pacing, the demons decided to come back, park in the same spot, and then engage in what is activity creation. This is prosecution for you, John Stewart. Prosecuting you. This is activity creation, monitoring. P.O.C. These are called agents of the people of the state that are monitoring, and it's supposed to occur under the guise of they're engaging in what is constitutionally protected, separate and distinct. They're leaf blowing under the fake sun, which is audible activity. While the demons are having a psychotic break, flying in circles by helicopter, it's not drowning out the sound, and it doesn't need to be heard while I am literally capturing pictures of it. And the entity has already, the entity is already proven to be engaging in what the allegations are proven for in this evidence, because the sun isn't over the up in public library, and the two are mutually exclusive. But these are the vagina monitors that are stalking, okay? John Stewart Company is gang stalking while I'm on Holt Boulevard as well, the Emporia Place Apartments off of Fern Avenue in Holt. I'm prosecuting John Stewart Company that I will be federally prosecuting and entirely draining, exhausting the pockets for a criminal that maintains surveillance through the people of the state that reside in relevant position, keeping American citizens under surveillance. That is a population that are sex offenders. They're engaged in vagina monitoring as a way of life, where they live around and keep the genitalia of American citizens under surveillance while living at the facilitating venue, like what John Stewart Apartments are doing. The Ontario City Center, where the elderly 55 and over are terrorists gang stalking with the viciousness of the entity stalking by helicopter. P.O.C. and they have plenty of energy to engage in it. All right, the entity is engaging in what is psychopathic pace and flying in circles over and over again. The elderly are out here humpback, ongoing edema, high blood pressure on canes, gang stalking. And that's exactly what you'll see. It is the P.O.C. and they are gang stalking all the same, and under the law, there's no difference between them anyway. This is that entity that's going to prison, and as I utter that, that's when you're talking about that pattern. And how does it affect, let's just be practical. Myra's going to prison. The Page One Cafe employees, they're subject to prison. You're going to federal prison. So the entity, Myra, Mickey, Dylan, Securitas employees, let's just use those for example. You're going to federal prison based on the face, in substance and on its face. You're guilty, you're going to prison. When the entity then 30 seconds later starts engaging in what is harassment, stalking by helicopter, targeting me in particular. It's already proven that I'm the one being targeted, and they're targeting in the supernatural environment that follows me around, the supernatural environment that stays and remains as I remain. That's why the sun is setting here also 8 hours from now. When you are engaged in that, how is that affecting Myra in the courtroom? Myra is still going to prison. In fact, Myra's going to prison, and this is informing her diagnosis regarding mental examinations that she shall be subject to. All right, this is the entity that's engaging with its gang violence. Myra is targeting me with the helicopter. That's supposed to be one that's not going to cause me to be quiet. I'm going to underscore how Myra is engaged in that documented criminal act of obstruction while she is indeed a vagina monitor, a hostile lesbian, in other words, while Myra is gang stalking, a psychopath pacing on the inside of that library, while the helicopter activity is one documented regularly pacing above me of that over that building, doing so day and night, while Myra is being prosecuted even while she's off of work at the venue, the OVITT Family Community Library. Even when I'm up in California documenting the same pattern of conduct, Myra is going to prison, and stalking by helicopter enhances Myra's prison term. It enhances her time in a mental institution. And this is no exaggeration. You are going to be committed with the evidence of gang stalking, which is a deranged, unhinged, sexually perverted, and psychopathic pattern of conduct that is criminal. And they are sharing in that. The demon stalking in the helicopter shares the exact same pattern of conduct as Myra that is employed inside of the OVITT Family Community Library. Stalking in the specific environment, doing so pursuant to what it is that I do at the moment that I do it, whether physically, whether it is that I am operating my communication device and crossing path in doing so. Myra doesn't have access to a helicopter, but her co-defendant does. The one on whose behalf she has engaged in defaming my character, criminally summoning me, harassing me, and even excluding me from the venue as a means of targeted harassment, which is also that which tends to obstruct justice, which is also why she's going to prison. Myra is subject to federal prison while the entity is stalking me by helicopter, and doing so while I am speaking to the fact that she is subject to federal prison, her and her superior, Sean Thrasher. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in that, and that's how that analysis works, and that's toward every single last third-party agent. This is gang violence. The gang is an entity. They're not individuals. And in the courtroom, that's when you're dissecting that entity. And Myra's got her own case for what she engaged in as an entity. Mickey's got her own case for what she engaged in as an entity. Dylan, working for Securitas, has his own case for what he engaged in as the entity. And the entity is stalking by helicopter all over the Southern California. And Dylan's going to prison for that. And it's not based on whether Dylan wants to admit that he knew about it or not. Dylan's going to prison. He doesn't have a legally relevant defense. You do not. Were you there? It's literally strict liability basis because it's very simple. Were you there? Of course you were there. They already know the answer to that question. I documented Dylan. I didn't just document Dylan. I documented his employer, who's going to be prosecuted, the corporate entity. And the entity's pattern of conduct, speaking to what is unreasonable for Dylan to contend otherwise. Not only are you aware of it, but as I document Dylan and Dylan's nowhere around, there's a pattern that I tend to be stalked and harassed by helicopters as I refer to the fact that Dylan is going to prison. Dylan's ongoing criminal conviction is already established. There is never any criminal case that's relying upon the defendant, the alleged, admitting guilt. This is why you have court cases, to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 10:34 a.m. under the fake sun, and the demons are gang stalking. John Stewart Company is representing, understanding how the entity is congregating in front of the businesses, like what I'm documenting at the gas station last night at Chevron under the fake moon, like what I'm documenting the night before at the Giant Value Dollar under the fake moon, and the demons are congregating, grouping up in front, stalking with the business, helping the employees, helping the government. In other words, the employees are the government, the gang members in front, they're all the government. They're all third parties. These are agents. All right. These are zombies. These are demons that are monitoring together. In other words, it's the same thing with regard to John Stewart, a gang member that has demons, gang members congregating in front of the business, and they're engaging in landscaping, which is activity creation and criminal presence under the fake sun. And John Stewart Company is being prosecuted. There's nothing that you're engaging in that's some exception or superseding the government's pattern of conduct. And unfortunately for you, but fortunate for everyone else that is watching, witnesses with regard to the demonic system that the U.S. government is engaging and inflicting upon those internationally, you do not have a defense in court. And that's what matters, is what's going to happen in court and what's happening in court that you are in right now. And you are engaging in what is criminal presence in the path that is under all circumstances acting toward the demise of an American citizen. And there is nothing that you're claiming that's legally relevant that's going to change that, especially when you are in the established pattern of conduct and where you are also profiting from it. And the entities engaging in this maliciously. So nobody, in other words, expects you, a deranged psychopath by virtue of the pattern of conduct, to admit otherwise. Nobody expects that. But you get your day in court. The Nephilim's getting their day in court. The Nephilim's corporations are getting its day in court because I'm prosecuting those legal fictions. The corporation, the brand, the logo itself, you're prosecuted by virtue of the entity stalked by helicopter. Just want to let you know that. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10:36 a.m. All right, these third parties are going to prison, and John Stewart Company is being federally prosecuted. These demons are engaged in leaf blowing, and they engaged in that. Let me see. They're having a psychotic break. They were pacing around the C Street turn circle. I saw that, so they speed off. I saw them engaging in surveillance in the parking lot. They drove off. The entity now engages in leaf blowing, and the entity is engaged in psychopathic pacing by helicopter. You'll see the picture that I just took right now. They're going to prison. The employees of Stewart Company, the John Stewart Company, they're also subject to prison. They're gang stalking while they're driving in the parking lot. The fake son. This is the mentally ill behavior. You're going to prison and you're going to be subject to mental examinations. And these are prospects for immigration, okay? You have the entity that's engaging in what is the pattern of conduct, and the leaf blower is supposed to drown out the helicopter activity while he's going psychotic, flying in circles. They're going to prison. City Center Apartments, crime scene, license 8K39703. Activity, which is moving far from the location they are targeting. And they're acting with the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct while the entity is stalking by helicopter. Very diabolical, very malicious, very threatening. This is the P.O.C. and that company as well. Excuse me. This is called California Green Lawn Maintenance. I saw you speeding on the street. That's fine. I'll get it off the internet as well. This is the P.O.C. while he's trying to cover up the name of the company, Cal Green Landscape. Contract number C27940922. And the entity is engaging in what is stalking by helicopter while that audible activity is seeking to conceal that helicopter activity. That's all. That's the pettiness behind that. Prison, period. It's prison, period. This is the P.O.C. Watch the light source. Everybody's looking so appalled, and everybody's gang stalking as well. The light source is moving, however. This is the P.O.C. All right? Those third parties, you're going to prison, and if they're not natural-born citizens, you're being deported. Okay? That's the pattern of conduct. They're acting together. Okay? A leaf blower covering up the sound of the helicopter. You don't need the sound of the helicopter. You're listening to the sound of my voice. You can look at the helicopter activity that I documented and I referred to when the entity is following me around, so I already have credibility. The stalkers in the military are the ones that don't. I don't have to make up anything. The fact that the people of the state are vagina monitors is already established. The fact that this is a whole unpersuasive, poorly designed stage that the entity, the City of Ontario, is standing on while the City of Upland testifies against them is already on the record. They're all going to prison, and I don't have to go into the City Hall and show you the maggot Paul Leon for him to be subject to prison. I'm prosecuting him right here outside the building, where the entity is flying in circles by helicopter, and their co-defendant uses a leaf blower to try to cloud out that sound. Under all circumstances, it doesn't matter what the purpose is, it's audible activity. They are monitoring together. I'm here observing and witnessing and experiencing that malice. They're going to prison. And that's a prosecution for you, John Stewart Company. This is P.O.C. The fake sun is over me at 10:39 a.m. Alrighty, this is Amazon. That is gang stalking. The entity flew right over the top of my head. Amazon targeting me again under the fake sun. And Sectran, that's gang stalking at the City Hall at 7 in the morning under the fake sun. Remember the video this morning where the entity is gang stalking Amazon, targeting me specifically, doing so while they are tracking my steps coming out, and the military flies over the top of my head. And that's a white plane that I'm documenting, 16749 George 4. I'm going to prosecute her, and I'm going to prosecute Amazon. That's targeting, again, the City Hall, that's engaged in monitoring, stalking by helicopter, getting engaged in retaliation. This is the same thing while I'm inside of the City Hall. And these are the employees, the terrorists that are operating the vehicles that represent a threat. That logo was a threat. While that logo is associated with psychological torture and harassment and criminal monitoring and furtherance of murdering me. And the entity is engaging in that in concert with the entity that has maintained the fake sun, as I've been documenting. It is currently 1:14 p.m. and that sun hasn't moved. It's remained over me. This is the same library. This is the same third party. This is the state actor. I documented her stalking outside of the library over there, and the fake sun's remaining specifically over me. This is speaking to, let me just show you that Paul Leon, the Ontario City Council, the City of Ontario is indeed targeting, and that's Amazon. That's the prosecution of the brands, prosecution of the public entity that's engaging in that P.O.C. And there is no natural environment that includes the fake sun only, but not the natural environment where the sun is simultaneously over the Upland Public Library, or that it would be, and it is also a judicially noticed fact that there are no flights from the airport that would be over here, and the entity is specifically targeting me while a fake sun is present here as I'm documenting this morning, and 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 6 hours later, it's still over me. And this is also where the military are maintaining presence, stalking, and harassing me with a heavily documented terrorist that is engaged in what is routinely harassing, such as Amazon Prime, such as the heavily documented gang stalker, the Ontario City Hall, who was hostile to what I publish on the internet while they are engaged in criminal monitoring. Paul Leon is going to prison for this. It's going down to the names of those that are represented by this office, okay, by this municipality. This is P.O.C. and that's the Ontario Senior Center where I'm walking out. The entity has the fake sun over the roof. The military flies over the top of my head by a white plane, knowing exactly who I am, and this is proof of knowledge. And Amazon Prime is also engaged in that. That's the pattern of conduct, and everything coming out of the terrorist mouths. While they are stalking, you came out of your way stalking me. And the entity that states anything, they're going to prison behind that. Even if it's, what are you doing? That's the military that's conspiring my murder, that's poisoned me, that's kidnapped me, that's defamed my character, that has plotted me and plotted around my name, my identity, and also tried to frame me for criminal activity. That's who is speaking. While you're a psychopath, you're gang stalking me, coming around acting like you are perturbed by being documented, and you don't know what I'm documenting you for. You know exactly what I'm documenting you for, and you will be committed and subject to prison for it. All of this entity, the people of the state, this is the entity that's going to be removed from getting any sort of funding. The Senior Center is a product of funding that criminal activity at the City of Ontario is engaging in. That's being removed. That's stopping. That's coming to an abrupt halt. Just as sure as you see this fake sun over my head. This is the P.O.C. at 1:17 p.m. All right, where it has remained. This is where the fake sun was rising, and this is engaged in this sort of conduct, digging in the trash can, pushing a stroller under the fake sun, while the entity, the military, stalking in helicopters like nothing is happening, and I don't see you, and I'm not targeting you. And so of them targeting and getting any means in the path, and while you do so, looking around and like you're doing something like an Amazon employee, those are the psychopaths. This is P.O.C. It is currently 1:17 p.m. So let me show you the malicious environment where the entity is gang stalking and doing so via aircraft. This is impossible light activity that you can see on the ceiling while demons are walking by of all ages. This is what I'm documenting. This is where I'm standing, where the fake sun is. All right, where terrorists are engaging in criminal monitoring, bearing logos as the corporate entity, and the U.S. government is targeting by flying over the top of my head, and it's legally relevant that I am being targeted at what is the Ontario City Hall, where you are engaged in surveillance by being in your vehicle stalking. The environment is proof of that, and the fake sun is a part of that environment. This is license 5HYT172. The mental illness is no longer closeted. It's not any sort of mystery or secret, either night activity. Okay, this is impossible light activity, and this is where Amazon Prime is stalking me, going out of your way to be in the path so that you can communicate that psychologically torturous threat by literally being present, literally the logo itself. And this is relevant to what is surveillance of my evidence. And so this is the psychopaths that are satiated by engaging what is harassment, which is not getting them the goal of what they typically engage in toward the ordinary target individual. What is it is accomplishing? It is an unprecedented basis for damages to shut down, remove, wipe off of the map, cause to disappear terrorists like Amazon Prime, and from office and put in prison terrorists like Paul Leon, Alan D. Wapner, Jim Bowman, those that are a part of the gang stalking airport, where they're sitting on the board of the Ontario City Council that is under the fake sun that's remaining over me in one city, and you're able to prosecute Paul Leon by what's over me at the Upland Public Library, and vice versa. This is that P.O.C. All right, the starting of the car is audible activity. This is gang stalking. This is gang stalking by crossing path. While the fake sun's moving over me, this is stalking. And they're vagina monitors, okay? This is the light activity that's occurring underneath. All of this is relevant. This is all impossible light. You see my hand appearing on the sign. This is while you're under the fake sun, stalking and monitoring. These are sex offenders keeping my vagina under surveillance. You're going to defund the senior center elderly that are engaged in genitalia surveillance. They're sex offenders. They're literally old, ragged vagina monitors with edema and liver spots. All right, and in need of their blood pressure medication, monitoring your vagina with the government that provides a facility for them to engage in criminal activity. Okay, that's the P.O.C. It is currently in this specific environment at 1:21 p.m. The same location, OVITT Family Community Library, is on the opposite side of this building, where the fake sun is rising during the 7 a.m. hour. Okay, you saw Southwest Airlines, United Airlines, Amazon Prime. You saw FedEx, UPS, the entity that's engaged in targeting through the Delta Airlines, the airline industry, in other words, where the entity is also stalking by U.S. jets and helicopters. You saw all that today. This is the environment where they're stalking me, targeting me. This is that P.O.C. What you're paying attention to is the scientific evidence, which is right here. Right here, and you're paying attention to the co-defendants being prosecuted for psychological torture, threats as an entity, which is terrorism, and 9TWN628. He keeps pacing up and down the street. I took his picture. He paced up and down the street, and he's pacing back again. And this is where I was at, where the entity was stalking by helicopter this morning, and I'm at the same library. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:25 p.m. That's Saris Regis Group, John Stewart Company, MIG Real Estate, GL Partners, Ontario Town Square, which is the city of Ontario. This is P.O.C. Impossible lights on the passenger side of the possible light activity. The fake sun is simultaneously remaining at the Upland Public Library today. This is P.O.C. This is facilitating light activity. 9GJC739. This is also Walmart. This counts as Walmart. Walmart is monitoring. There is absolutely no flights that are occurring over 1333 North Mountain Avenue. This is also where I'm capturing the fake sun. And this is where the entity, Walmart, has a tendency to engage in stalking me by helicopter. Walmart keeps a fake sun, and Walmart also has the fake moon, okay? This is P.O.C. This is psychopathic. What Walmart is engaging in is psychological torture. It's a hub for criminal monitoring with the government that knows exactly who I am and where I'm at, and monitoring with a whole population of people. Okay? Walmart at 1333 North Euclid Avenue. I documented the fake sun right here over the top of my head. I documented the fake sun at 7:19 in the morning, documenting in the middle of the afternoon. This is the entity that is gang stalking, and doing so with the government that tells on Walmart, the corporate entity, hovering over, that is Mountain Avenue at 5th Street. There's no planes that are coming from the airport. This is stalking. It is P.O.C. The people that say they're engaged in psychopathic pacing, molesting with light. It's currently 8:42 p.m.